Delighted to say I'm joined by John Meyler. John, when I was looking through your Wikipedia page, which I'm sure you had nothing to do with, I realised you actually won some amount of stuff over the course of your career.
That's great research, Wikipedia. That's great research.
Yeah, I mean that was only the starting point. I did a little bit more than that, but just to kind of track your career as a player, you started off obviously with Our Lady's Island in Wexford, and I was looking at the name of the parish you came from. Is it pronounced Tacumshane?
Yeah, Tecumshin,
right.
Sean, the house of the miller Sean, and we have a big windmill. It's the only windmill in the 26 counties in our back garden, and my father took it over, but then he handed it over to the Board of Works. So my brother and sister-in-law are there now at the pub. That's where I'm from. Small country village. That's where I started. Yeah.
Yeah, and was there a big love of GAA there?
Oh, huge love. They won the Wexford Junior hurling in 1962. Paddy Parle and all those guys won it, and I was only 6 years old at the time. I remember them coming through the village with the cup and all that, But it was very difficult, really. The numbers really weren't there. We won a lot of leagues because the league games were during the week, so you were winning leagues during the week. But at the weekend, with the social life and things like that, I don't think we could ever win championship matches. But it was an incredible, I suppose, upbringing, really. And I was lucky to be there. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Do you remember your early days of playing?
Oh, Jesus, I do. Yeah. I remember 15 years of age playing in Wexford Park in junior hurling, and a big fella from Blackwater said, "Come in here, and we'll see how tough you are." Because I'd gone to Gormstown School in Balbriggan, and my brother went to St Peter's, but my mother thought I was a bit too wild, so she sent me off to Gormstown, and I was supposed to be one of these good young fellas in 15 years of age, and he said to me, "Come into the corner here, and we'll see how tough you are," and all this. But you know yourself from hurling, you have to be able to look after yourself, and the older fellas on the team looked after me when I was young,
And
so great days.
Yeah, and like, how much success did you have ultimately for you to get called up to the Wexford team? I mean, obviously you stood out yourself.
I was playing, when I was minor and that, I was playing with Gormstown. We won the All-Ireland Colleges in 73. We beat Jarlath in the final, and then we lost to Jarlath in 74 in the football final. That was Ogie Moore and Paul McGettigan, Christy McCutcheon, John Gallagher. We had Mickey Martin from Dublin. That was a fantastic football team. We were in the Leinster B colleges senior hurling, against Callan and Burr and a few teams like that. But I remember in 73 we played Cairns down in Newbridge. They beat us 8-13 to 1-1. It was a fair hammering, and you know what I mean. There was 13 decided that. So I played the senior hurling B colleges, and then I played minor with Wexford in 73 and 74, hurling and football. But Kilkenny were very strong at that time in minor hurling. You had Dick O'Hara, Joe Hennessy, Brian Waldron, all those really, really good teams, Kilkenny, and Kildare were very strong in minor football at that stage as well, as along with Dublin. So, that graduated to under 21 with Wexford, and again, you know what I mean, we just weren't able to get across the line, and senior then, I had gone to college here in Cork to study in UCC, so I was playing with UCC then, and that was a kind of the first introduction of real senior championship here, where we played 76, 77, 78, those years in the senior championships here, hurling and football, and the Bars, Blackrock, Middleton were strong at those days. So that was my real introduction here, and coupled also with, I was playing with Wexford District, and we won a Wexford Senior Football Championship in 77, and Liam Griffin was the manager at the time of that. He was the trainer, and so it kind of all grew there, really.
When you you were talking about going to UCC, when you ultimately decided to switch clubs to St Finbarr, how much of a wrench was that for you to leave your home club?
And in those days, the mobility really wasn't there. The mobility of going home every weekend wasn't there. And, you know what I mean? I hadn't a car at the time I was in college. And, I was friendly with Christy Ryan and John Clement, who were playing with Cork, who were playing with the Bars at that stage in 1979, 1980. And I was also staying in a rented house in Cork with John O'Brien. He was the chairman of the Bars football team, so I was staying in that house. So he said, "Sure, why don't you join the Bars?" And that was about 1980. And then to go from a junior hurling club like Ladies Island, yes, it was because my parents had the business. My parents had a pub, a shop, farm, that kind of thing. So we were very reliant on the local community for business, all of that, and sponsorship and all of that. So it was arranged for me to go. But, going up and down every weekend wasn't on it in those days, and traveling wasn't really on it. It's much easier now. You get into the car and you're home in 2 hours. But then, I was asked to join the Bars by John Cremin, Christy Ryan, John O'Brien, those, and then to go from a junior hurling club like Ladies Island and to go straight into the Bars in 1980 with Jimmy Barry, Ger Cunningham, John Blake, John Allen, Donald O'Grady. This was like the Barcelona really of hurling, of football, and it was a golden era for the Bars. If you look at the history of the Bars from the mid-70s to the 90s, I suppose, like there was 15-20 years of massive club success in terms of hurling and football, both county, Munster and All-Ireland, winning All-Ireland clubs and that. And it was an incredible time, to go from a junior hurling dressing room to sit alongside JB in the dressing room. It's a different world, like, when you're a young fella playing soccer for my Rovers in Tipperary and you go to Barcelona and Messi's alongside you, it's a different world, like, JB, like, Jesus. Man, you saw like winning 3 in a row, 76, 77, 78. Next minute you're sitting alongside, and Gerald Mack and Charlie Mack and Con Roach are giving the dressing room talk.
It's amazing, really. Were you accepted straight away? Did you feel you were accepted straight away? Did it take you long to feel comfortable in a different jersey?
No, it took me 5 minutes one night. I remember I joined the Bars after 1980, but John O'Brien had asked me to join. He was a Kerry man. He was chairman of the football club at the time, and he was mad into football. But one night, I hadn't joined the Bars long. I was there probably a month, and we were training away, and Con Roach came over to me and he said to me, you play hurling? And I said, yeah, I've played minor and under 21 and with Wexford and UCC and all of that. And he said, will you come and train us? So I remember training one night, and I had a massive row with Kieran O'Driscoll. He had played minor with Cork. They had won a couple of All-Irelands with Cunningham and that. And the two of us came to blows, and there was only about backs and forwards, the old style backs and forwards, and there was a fair bit of sledging going on one night, and myself and Driscoll, there was blood all over the place, and Gerald told the two of us to go on in and cool down, and that was my introduction. I think I was accepted straight away, and look, I was extremely lucky that I just got in at that purple patch. When you're a young fella and you join a successful team, and the likes of JB and John Allen, Donald O'Grady, Christy Ryan, John Cremin, Eamon Fitzpatrick, Jesus, like, they carry you, and you know what I mean? It's I embraced it really, like, and I loved it, and and then you had the football as well, like, so. Like, it was an incredible football team and hurling team.
It really is a who's who of Cork, like, recent history, certainly the last 40 or 50 years, like, and you've named all the men there, and a lot of them have gone on to manage Cork, including yourself as well. It's incredible that like, I'm not saying a small club, but that one club can produce that much hurling history.
Yeah, 100%, Shane. But what you had, Shane, in the background was you had the old fellas. You had Mick Kennefick, who was the youngest player ever to captain an All-Ireland winning team, 41 and 42. Mick Kennefick was the best. Donny Cremin, Tim Milan. So you had a load of old people, forgive me for calling them old, you had a load of senior people in the background who were coaching the likes of Gerald, Charlie and Con Roach, who had just come out of hurling. Gerald retired in 79, Charlie in 80, Roachy had gone a bit earlier. Seamus Looney, they were all being coached by the senior men, like Tim Milan, like Donald O'Grady's father, Jimmy. Jimmy was an incredible character. So they were all being coached by great coaches from the 40s and the 50s. Gerald and Charlie and Roachy stepped back then at late 70s, and then they would have started coaching us. So like you go into a dressing room and suddenly you have a guy that's won 5 All-Ireland medals, Gerald McCarthy, Charlie who had won 5, Rochi who was a kind of a brilliant hurler but an incredible character, like a really, really great character, and Seamus Looney, who, you know what I mean, a medical doctor and that, who had played with Cork like in football and hurling, like Jesus, and Charlie Cullinan as well. So suddenly now that you're being coached by, you know, some of the best hurlers over 15 years. And then they passed that on to all of us at that stage. And it was an incredible learning experience. You know, we embraced it and we loved it and we wanted to be in each other's company, and, you know, we were kind of living in each other's houses. It was incredible. Like Mrs. Finn, Tim Finn's mother, Ger Cunningham's mother, they were incredible. Con Roach's mother was, you know what I mean, if I knocked on the door, I always got food. Do you know what I mean? Like it was incredible days, incredible hospitality. People really, really looked at it. And if you wanted anything, there was no problem, you know. It was great time.
I'm always interested in when people transfer clubs like yourself, and I did it myself. And I would always kind of, you know, with the lads in Dublin and Killeagh, you embrace it and you're fully part of the team and you love it, but at the same time, for the crack element of it, I always remind them from Tipperary and so to boot in anytime Tipperary beat Dublin and what have you. Did you have that sort of thing going on where you were still imposing your Wexfordness on them even though you ended up playing with Cork? But, you know, was there that sort of crack going on?
Yeah, but I suppose, you know, when I joined originally, they said, what kind of a hurler are you like? And I said, sure, you know, I'll see how I get on and that. And then somebody said, sure, he's like Tony Dorn, because I caught a few balls out of the air and they said, like, he has a hand like Tony Dorn. Jesus, I'd never compare myself to Tony Dorn, but I played in the half forward line in hurling, and Cunningham was in the goal, and he'd pop the ball out and I'd catch it. But I was intelligent enough to know that, you know, I'd give it to Jimmy, and you know, if I gave it to Jimmy, he'd score, or Eamon Fitzpatrick or Tim Finn, somebody like that. You'd really, really good. Tomas Maher from Waterford was there as well. So really good forwards around, and I knew that if I gave the ball, I'd get the credit. And with due respect to all of them, the older fellas gave me the credit. But, you know, you had Bill O'Connell, who was young Billa's father, and he was a comedian in the Cork Opera House, and he would always be slagging. And you kind of got into that group then, Shane, in terms of sometimes being the butt of jokes, like, you know, like Wexford could never be Cork and hurling and all this, and you pissed on the powder in you know what I mean, in Enniscorthy down through the years and all of that. And, you know, I think Ringy was going out of Enniscorthy one night, and Cork were after beating him, and he was getting a bit of stick, I think, from lads in Wexford, and he turned and said to him, "She pissed on the powder," and, you know what I mean, when they're trying to throw up something. So there was a lot of slagging going on, there was a lot of banter going on. But when you're successful, Shane, and you know this in Tipperary now, once you're successful, there's a culture of banter within a dressing room that sticks to that particular dressing room. And it creates a culture of winning. It creates that culture. You know, sometimes when you're, you know, in the last 5 minutes, you're down a point, 2 points, 3 points, you still come back to win the game. And where does it come from? It comes from that culture that's been generated through the banter, through the excitement, through the intensity of training. And some of those training sessions in the bars were harder than matches. So I fell into that, and, you know, you'd go out deliberately sometimes to take out fellas, and, you know what I mean, you'd live on it, you dwell on it, and, you know, so great days.
What was Jimmy Barry Murphy like in the dressing room? Was he a talker, or did he just lead with how he played?
No, sit in the corner. He had his own spot. We all had our own spots in the way. JB was like, you know, probably a second ahead of us, and that was his problem, because, you know what I mean, it's a bit like Messi or Ronaldo, like genius, George Best. He was a second ahead of us, so he was moving. So, you know what I mean, that you just had to give him the ball and he would do the rest. And he was an incredible athlete, and he had that half yard of pace that he was gone. And you know, he carried me for my years with the Vars, like, because, you know, we were getting the credit, but he was getting the scores and he was getting the goals, and, he had a fantastic career, but when he got serious, then he got serious. I saw him once or twice get serious in the dressing room, at half time, and he had the ultimate respect, and an incredible individual and an incredible player.
How big was the hysteria around him when he was a player in his pomp? Because I might have been a little bit too young to appreciate it, because he retired when I was maybe 4.
He was a god, but like in those days, like there wasn't the same. How will I put it? There wasn't the same social media intensity, Twitter, Facebook, all of this. There wasn't that. You know what I mean? There wasn't that media. How will I call it? Exposure, because there was so much exposure nowadays compared to our time. That you to wait until Monday for the report in the Examiner here. You to wait in Wexford until the Wexford People came out on the Friday for the report on the match. Now, you know what I mean, that the report of the match is up there. So people probably lived on folklore then. People lived on things of the past, whereas now it's in the present. But I suppose that's how they became stars, really. Like that, they lived on that folklore over the years.
How much did you enjoy your spell playing with the Cork Senior Hurlers?
I joined in 1983. It was tough because, as again, you're an outsider coming in, and I was. Jimmy Grady asked me one evening, and I joined in 1983. We played a couple of matches against Limerick, and I was taken off in both matches, and I found it hard to assimilate in. And again, it's a different culture, it's a different expectation. But look, I'm grateful. I got a subs medal in '86 against Galway in the All-Ireland final, and I was grateful for that. And I loved that time, and that was it, even though it was only 3 or 4 years. But look, I'm extremely grateful to the Cork County Board and all of those, Frank Murphy, Dennis Hurley, and all those people who were really, really good to me, in the 80s when I came in, But it's tough. I was talking to somebody in the last few days about, I won't mention him, a player playing for another county, and he found it very hard to integrate, to assimilate in. I found it extremely easy in the bars, but then going into the Cork setup is difficult. It's challenging.
Yeah. And did you feel like you got a fair crack at a whip there? Did you get the opportunities that you deserved?
Everybody gets their own crack at a whip, Shane, and you have to take that. I didn't take it, and I got my debut. I remember my debut was against, of all things, against Wexford, down in Clon. Jesus. And we were opening the Christy Ring pitch in Clon in 1983, and who was our first match, and it was against Wexford down in Clon. And I had no socks, I assumed incorrectly the gear would be there, so I turned up with no socks. I remember Sean Leary gave me a pair of red socks, and I had the white shorts, and that was it, those days. And we played Wexford in the opening of the pitch in Clon, Christy Ring Park, and I got 3 points that night. And then a week later we played, the old challenge games in those days. We played Kilkenny in Kilmacow, and I got 1-2 or 1-3 or something. That's all. It was going well. But the championship then against Limerick, first up in Limerick, I was gone after 25 minutes. I think I got the crooked finger. So, and I started again here in the replay in Parky Keith. But look, I didn't take advantage of it, and you're given that opportunity, you must take that. And Tomás Mulcahy came on for me in the park, and he went on to win 3 All-Irelands, and that's it. So you know what I mean? And you win some, you lose some,
Absolutely. What's your recollection of the 1986 final? And not to harp on about Jimmy Barry, but he decided then at the age of 32 that was his last game. What a way to go out, winning All-Ireland.
Yeah, but what a goal. But like the 86 All-Ireland was about the Galway mayor, Mulholland, I think was his name, and he was mouthing off before the All-Ireland final that he had the reception ready on Monday night for the Galway team coming home. But Cork had won the 84 All-Ireland as well, and they had lost 82 and 83 to Kilkenny, so they were thereabouts all the time. They were knocking on the door. And Hennessy got a couple of goals that day in 86, but No, look, Cork were better on the day, and Galway kind of folded really a bit in the second half. You know what I mean? So look, I loved it, Shane. It was brilliant.
Do you have a particular memory of what you won as a player with the Bars?
Oh Jesus, yeah. But I no more I lost, Shane, than I won. We lost 2 football counties to Killeagh. You know what I mean? Teddy Mack was playing in those days, and he got a goal. And I lost a couple of hurling finals as well to Middleton in '83 and to the Pierce League in 1990. I remember the ones I lost more than the ones I won. But I said to you earlier that there was, from the mid 70s to the 90s, the Bars were contesting county finals every year, hurling and football. It was, you were just going from, year to year, county final to county final, Munster club, All Ireland club. I've played in all of those, and it was a golden era of incredible players. And when you have those players around you, it's a bit like Cody when they won 4 in a row. There's not very much to do except just to create the learning environment around those players and just to help them, just to facilitate them, just to keep them going. That's really it, because there was such a culture of winning there that they'll keep themselves going, and we kept ourselves going, and until we were just, my right hip went, and I started to go, and
so what took you towards management? And I suppose the first role of note that I'd find in my Wikipedia journey is Kerry.
No. My first one was I was with the Bars, as I said, and Jim McCarthy, Lord of Mercy, he died last year. Jim Mack was very good to me when he was younger, and he said to me, would you train a team for us? I said, Jesus, Jim, I'm playing hurling and football. How can I go train a team? No, he said, I just want you to coach them. And I said, what does that mean? And he said, you turn up at 6 o'clock, they'll all be here. I'll have everything ready for you, and just go coach them for an hour, and you're training at 7:30, so it doesn't really matter. So I started coaching the Bars under 16 hurling team, and I used to do the coaching. That was really it. Turn up. The match might be Saturday. They had leagues on the Saturday at 3 o'clock. So all I was doing was turning up for training and turning up for matches. Probably, an hour and a quarter, an hour and a half. And we were beaten by Middleton in under 16 county final. And that was my first real introduction to coaching. And, I loved it because, you saw young fellas improving and that. And I had a job in Cork here, and I left to go to Lee Strand in Tralee, and that's really where I bumped into Sean Kelly, who was chairman of the Kerry County Board, went on to be president. I met Tony O'Keefe as well, secretary of the Kerry County Board. They said, sure, why don't you train the Kerry hurling team? And that was 92, and I said, which one? The under 15 team? No, the senior one. So yeah, no problem. So let's see what's on the card. So they asked me to do it, and I said, yeah, great opportunity.
The thing was, like, I spoke with Fergal Hartley, who was part of that team, that Waterford team that you beat in 1993. A huge shock at the time. This was a Waterford team that had some under 21s that had just won an All Ireland in 1992. And Fergal said to me, he said, we got suits before this game, and in fairness to the management of the day, that more or less they were going out getting a photo shoot celebrating their under 21 All Ireland, and he said that you were more or less coming in, and he said with respect, with like a hurley and the gear in a plastic bag, this sort of thing. Like what's your memory of that?
My memory of that is a couple. It's a bit like Liverpool in the white suits, if you remember that FA Cup final. And we strolled into Welsh Park, and I see all these guys in lovely blazers, and I say, what's going on here? Like, do you know what I mean? This new Flash Harry's around town or something like that. Like, and I would have had no problem with Waterford, because I was involved with Cork in '82 and '83 and beating Waterford by 30 points up in Thurles. So you know what I mean? I wasn't really worried about Waterford. And we had a really, really strong Kerry hurling team at that time. Christy Walsh, Joe Walsh, Brendan O'Sullivan, DJ Leahy, all of those. And Seamus McIntyre, the guard, lost his life here in Cork. Really, really brilliant hurlers, and really, really committed. And next minute you had these fancy dans on with their suits and getting photographs taken. and we're strolling in with a bag and a hurley and a pair of boots and whatever, you know what I mean? So it really pissed me off and you know what I mean, got me annoyed, and I kind of rallied the troops, you know what I mean, before the game, and broke a few hurleys in the dressing room in those days when you could break hurley in the dressing room. But no, but everything went right for us that day as well, and you know what I mean, fellas really played out their skins, and Waterford were too. Tony Brown took his holidays. I think he was getting ready for the Tipperary match in 3 weeks' time. He went away to Spain or the Canaries for 2 weeks, you know. So
yeah, Fergal said one guy, he said he couldn't remember the name of the player, but one lad got the ball in midfield, burst through and kicked it over the bar from 45 yards, and he said he could kind of sense things were going against him. Do you recall that?
Yeah, that's true. That was Joe Walsh, yeah. And then we remember Eddie Murphy was with me at the time. Eddie was a selector, coach down in Kerry, and we were fighting and arguing on the line. What would we do? And I said we'd bring on Jerry O'Sullivan from Friaries, and Jerry came on it. He was out on the sideline. He just turned around straight over the bar from about 60 yards out, and I said, Jesus, there's something happening here. Like, so everything went right that day, and then we got a 21-yard free or something like that, and DJ Leahy took it, and we hit it and went straight to the back of the net. You know what I mean? So like Tipperary and Cork and Kilkenny have had their fair share of those as well over the years. So no, look, that was a great day, and I remember afterwards, and Ned Horgan, who was a great character from Kilmiley, fierce Kilmiley man altogether, Ned. And Ned was down with a bus. There was about 25 people on the bus. The Hayes sisters from Abbey were there as well. So I went out, went onto the bus and thanked them and shook hands with every one of the 25 supporters we had. And Liam Cotter, who was vice chairman of the county board at the time, Cotter was a vice chairman who was then responsible for hurling. Cotter was a character, like he told stories about the IRA and all those things, though whether they were true or not, I don't know. But Cotter sang the Rose of Tralee inside in the dressing room. I never forget it. Like, it's like some of those Joe McDonough moments, really. And do you know what I mean? I know there was no television there, and kind of that adds to it, really. Like that, there was no coverage of it. Jesus, probably the hurling was terrible, but do you know what I mean? The stories live on. And Cotter sang Rose of Tralee, and it was incredible in the dressing room. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But like myself and Eddie just thought like beating Waterford. Sure, what have we done? We've only beaten Waterford. I tipped them in 2 weeks' time up in Thurles. Jesus.
Handy enough. But Fergal did say you deserved your win, but there was bottles and cans been thrown at them. Do you recall that?
Yeah.
Like, you're obviously...
Oh, Jesus, I do. Yeah, but again after the game, and you know Waterford. You know when you come through the tunnel, but there's not there was a netting wire or something like that on top of the tunnel, and they were throwing bottles and stones and everything, and the language and that, it was incredible. And I said, you know what I mean, I was kind of taken aback. So we beaten Waterford. Yeah, we deserved to beat Waterford, because if you check that, we had gone well in the old style league. Remember the old style league? We played 2 or 3 games in October, November, and you know, we had done well in the National Hurling League, like, and played Tipperary and Killarney. So, you know, and we did committed bunch of players as well. But the abuse the Waterford fellas got, like, but you know what I mean? If you come with a suit on, like the Liverpool players with the white suits on, you better back it up, or else you're going to get socks of abuse, and that's it. And that's what they got that day, you know.
So what did you say to the Kerry players then leading into the Tipperary game, trying to make them believe?
Yeah, but then we decided to get geared in.
Did you?
Sean Welch said, like, oh, we better dress you up now. You better dress you up, and you're going to Thurles. So we got lovely pants. Jesus, we got these jumpers. I don't know, they were like the colours of the rainbow, like they were red, orange. I should have kept one for framed it, but Christ, they were red, orange, yellow. Every colour was on it. Like, I said, we can't wear these going to Thurles. Like, we'll be laughed out of it. And then, you know, Tipperary of old, like, when they come, like, when they will pile it on, and they'll pile it on, and you know what I mean. I think it was 4-21 to 2-12. I think, you know. But like, look, that win is the first time Kerry won a championship match in 67 years. But again, you know, we tried to build on it. Then 95 we beat Clare in the league down in Tralee. You know what I mean? But kind of short gains really, Shane, and never long gains, and you know what I mean. It's to sustain it, and then that's where the likes of Tipperary, Kilkenny, Cork, you have the numbers to back that up. Like if fellas don't keep going and that, so we didn't really have the numbers then, you know.
So you had a spell with Kilmiley as well. I think won a first county title in 30 years in
2000.
2001.
Yeah.
And like you nearly caused a shock in Munster too, didn't you?
Oh Jesus, yeah. Like I went down there, and I suppose I fell in love with the place really. Like, and you know, in my first year, 2000 was difficult, and I went down in June, and like it was probably about 4 months too late. So in 2001, I said, look, we'll get fit anyway. And 2001, we won the county, and you know, it was 1970-71. You know, Declan Lovett, Ned Horgan, John Martin Brick, all the old fellas were there, like really staunch hurling people, really staunch hurling people. And we beat Ballyhoig in the final in 0-1. The rain and the wind that day was incredible. And then we got Blackrock down in Kilmiley in 01, and the following year in 02 we played Blackrock in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. It was the one opportunity, Shane, I'd say, that we really had of winning a Munster club championship match. You know, we were, you know, 3 or 4 points down all the time against Blackrock and Kilmiley, and we were 2 points down, and Brick got a goal and it was disallowed, and you know, small little things that go against it then. But like, you know, close enough. And then the next 2 years, then St Finbarr were, you know, the Duns were flying at the time, and they were much too strong for us. Like, I remember 2003 was a day, and St Finbarr came down to play Kilmiley, and Sean Murnan was the chairman. He was a character. The 3 sons playing on the team, but Sean was a character, and said, Meyler, he said, we let the grass grow. That would slow them Tipperary fellas down, and Dermot Kerrigan was refereeing it in Cork, and he reported the club for the long grass. Now, you know, they beat us by 7 or 8 points, whatever it was. But I wasn't too happy letting the grass grow. Sean felt it'd be a good idea to slow down Tommy Dunn and those.
And how would you sum up these Kerry hurling people, because they are in a massive football stronghold? So it's a small enough enclave, really.
They're more passionate than Tipperary, Kilkenny or Cork people about their hurling.
Is that because they're an oasis of hurling within football?
They're on top of one another there. And so, like, when you leave Ardfert and you know what I mean, that's really where the hurling starts. Even though Tralee Parnells now are up and running with David Brick and those inside in Tralee, that's growing inside in Tralee at the moment. But if you go senior hurling, you start in Ardfert and you go out 2 miles, 3 miles out the road, you're into Kilmiley. 2 miles, you're into Ballyhoig, Causeway, Crotta. You know, so suddenly Abbey Dorney. So suddenly now, they're all neighbouring villages. They're all intermarried, all of that, brothers and sisters married here and there, and uncles and aunts and all of that. And it's the pure passion, the pure rivalry of hurling that's incredible. And you know what I mean, it's the biggest crowd every year in Kerry is Kerry hurling final, and you know, it brings out families, it brings out communities, it brings out colour, it brings out kids. You want to see the parades before county final, there's probably 24 children, do you know what I mean, with every team, like, do you know what I mean, going around. Look, it's real club hurling at its best, and it represents the community where, you know, you're from your community and you want to be there on that one particular day. Incredible day.
You went back for a second spell with Kerry, probably around 2010 you went back, wasn't it?
Yeah. We lost the Christy Ring to Westmeath, dodgy decision,
Yeah, because one of your players at the time, he, like when I said I was going to chat to you, he said some man was Darragh O'Connell, who I ended up playing with in
Killeagh.
Yeah, and he said one of the things was that you always went around in sandals and shorts. How did you end up always going around in sandals and shorts?
When I went to Kilmiley first, you know, the club really looked after me. Cup of tea, that they knew I'd come down from Cork, and they'd have a cup of tea before, they'd have a cup of tea in anybody's house before training, they'd have a cup of tea in the dressing room or in the club room afterwards. And it was Michael, I can't think of his name now, I can't think of his name. Michael used to cut the grass, and he worked as the manager of the shoe shop inside in Tralee. And I always had the shorts on then, and I had the runners on and whatever. But Michael gave me for Christmas, he said, thank you very much for what you've done for Killeagh. There's a present. So I opened up, and there's a pair of sandals, beautiful sandals. So Jesus, and they were lovely. So I've always worn them, and come April, I always put the shorts on, and pair of sandals as well, and I love it. Do you know what I mean? I'm governed by the rules in the GA where managers are not allowed to wear shorts, so you have to wear pants and that. But no, that's how I started really with Michael Meehan. A great fella. He cut the grass and everything. He was incredible. And always got the pair of sandals off him. And Ned Horgan was another great Killeagh man. And Ned had a Horgan meets, and he was very good. And he wasn't in the club long. He said, you're doing great. He said, the lads are trained. It's great to have them all back. So he said, is the boot of the car open? So I said, yeah, the boot's open. So that was fine anyway. So he said, I left a bit in the boot for you. And I said, grand. So about a week later, the wife said to me, geez, there's a smell in the car. I said, no, there's never a smell in my car. She said, have you gear in the back or whatever? I said, no, I've no gear. So I went, opened the boot. Ned had put in rashers and sausages and and a bit of ham just slightly gone. That was slightly gone off. And so I had to thank Ned for the rashers. I said they were beautiful. But if anything, a bag of fertilizer to fertilize my lawn, whatever. They're incredible people, Jen. It's an incredible locality for hurling and the community, and it's no different to any other community where it lives by the hurling and the community. And you've seen with the COVID-19 at the moment, and it's probably understated that the influence of the GAA club on Irish society, on the Irish culture, the Irish fabric of what the GAA club has done for the community. And an awful lot of it you don't see, where they're calling out to so-and-so to give them whatever. And I was talking to one of the lads from Wexford in the last few days, Joe Coleman, and Joe was saying to me that he was cooking for himself, and I said, oh, what's wrong? And he said his mother was minding somebody, and she had to move out of the house to mind this person. And that's the GAA. Like it's Ashford is only somebody minding somebody, but it's not. It's the GAA helping out the local community, and that's an incredible thing which the GAA has in its culture, in its fabric, and it's really, really to the forefront here in combating the COVID-19 thing in the community.
He's the left-hander who plays with St Martin's, am I right?
Yeah, big fella. He takes the freeze.
Yeah.
Character.
I suppose then it was great for you to actually deliver a Christy Ring title for Kerry in 2011, considering you're talking about the calibre of these people. So that must have been amazing. And that was Croke Park too, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Croke. In fairness to Sean Kelly, that Sean got the Christy Ring, Lowry Marr, Nicky Racker. He got all of those on the stage where it gave fellas exposure, and you got live streaming. You got it maybe on TG Cat, or you got something there. You were never going to compete with the Munster Leinster Championship, the other. That really was. But Sean got it on that stage and promoted that. But we very successful in we lost to Westmeath in the final in 2010. We beat Wicklow in 2011. And, very successful. Joe O'Connor was training us as well. Joe had been involved with Clare, and he was also with Killeagh there in Limerick in the last 2 years. So Joe was a top-class trainer in that. So and the support from Kerry County Board was super as well. So a really, really good set of players. But we should have gone in 2012, Shane. We should have gone into the Munster Championship, and everybody was ringing me and talking to me and saying, no, you'll get hammered by Cork or Tip or whatever. But sometimes you have to go into the kitchen and take the stick and let's see what's happening. And I was disappointed at that. I wanted to go in 2012 and have a go and have a cut off these teams, and that the players were beginning to get more and more committed in those days, and you had some really, really top class players: Shane Brick, Mikey Boyle, Darragh O'Connell, as you just said, from Killeagh, who's with Killeagh now. So really, really good guys. You know what I mean?
I believe the team holiday in Thailand was interesting. You'd have a few characters.
Next question, Shane.
Really?
Yeah. No, look. Like, you've been in Thailand, Shane, as well. So
I haven't.
Have you not?
No.
Oh, well. Yeah, well, we were grateful. I remember saying, you know what I mean? The holiday in Thailand was incredible. I went with my wife, so I was fine. There wasn't a word. But, Jesus, it's another world. And it's another world. And, you're having a pint at 2 or 3 in the morning, and I don't know. It's a different culture. It's a different way of life. And I remember sitting out with my wife one evening, one morning, 1 or 2 in the morning. I got tapped on the shoulder. How's it going? And he says, "Yeah, you're all right." He said, "You're Meyler from Wexford." I said, "Oh, yeah." He says, "I'm from Enniscorthy. I come out here every year." Jesus.
Can't go anywhere.
Different world. They're beautiful beaches and that. And, you know what I mean? Hotels are fantastic, but there's another side of life that I wouldn't agree with.